So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rising Network for our Time Out Tuesday for this weekly session, Homeschooling for Parents, with invited guest Jaspreet Kaur. As some of you know, we've launched this series in response to the whole COVID-19 with everybody self-isolating, and the aim really of these weekly sessions is to provide people with support in a safe space and to maintain human contact outside of the home. And I'm really delighted and thrilled to have a good friend of mine, Jaspreet Kaur, who's a great ambassador of the Rising Network as well, join us for our first session. I'm not sure if I did introduce myself, but I'm Lillian. I'm the founder of the Rising Network. It's a great pleasure now to hand you over to Jaspreet Kaur, who is an award-winning spoken word artist, poet, writer, and previously she was a secondary school teacher, and you taught history and sociology. So I think we're in capable hands here to learn about homeschooling for parents. Thank you, Jaspreet, and over to you.
Okay, hi guys. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Lily. My name is Jaspreet Kaur, but I also go by the name of Behind the Netra for my poetry. But as Libby just said, I've been a history and sociology teacher for about 5 years. And I was teaching in secondary schools across London, also taught other humanities subjects as well, so geography, and also bits of philosophy and politics over the last couple of years as well. But I'm currently taking a break from teaching. For not too long ago, I stopped teaching back in December. As this year, I'm now taking some time to focus on my writing journey. So my journey as a writer and a poet. And poetry is something I've been doing since I was about 13 or 14. And as Lily mentioned, one of the main themes I write about is to do with well-being and mental health, and kind of smashing the stigma attached to mental health, as well as topics like gender issues, feminism, history, culture and identity, and what it means to be a woman of colour growing up in the UK. And that's actually the book that I'm writing at the moment. So I'm working on a narrative non-fiction about what it means to be a brown woman in this new decade. So that's currently what I'm working on. But the teacher side of me has not left me. I've still been very much involved in the education system since I've left in December. I'm still in schools about 2-3 times a week as a mentor, as a workshop facilitator, and also supporting schools that are currently not meeting the thresholds for Ofsted standards or are underachieving, and supporting schools in that way. So freelancing is essentially what I do now in the education space. But since COVID-19 has broke out in the last couple of weeks, and we've now seen schools and colleges across the country close, we now see parents at home doing their utmost best to provide homeschooling for their children. And this is including family members of my own, my sister and her kids, my brother and his kids, and lots of friends also now finding this very challenging situation of perhaps still working full time at home and then trying to homeschool their children. So today I'm going to provide a few kind of tips and advice and support from information that I've been gathering over the last couple of months. So hopefully some of this support and advice will be some takeaways for you guys today. So I'm just going to open up some slides for you guys to see a few points that I've put together for you. Okay, so first I just wanted to share something that I've been saying to all parents at the moment, that try not to be too hard on yourself right now. And what I want to emphasize is that this very famous quote that I'm sure many of you have heard of before, that it takes a village to raise a child. And what I mean by that is, when a child is in school, they've got a huge staff number looking after them. They've got different departments looking after them. They've got specific staff that is catering for each and every single one of their needs. And now taking that into a home situation where it's just their parents, it's now a huge contrast to what they're used to in school. So for you as a parent, you've got to realize that you can't be too hard on yourself, in the sense that it's going to be very different from the day-to-day school life that they are going to have at school. So to remember that it's not about being perfect, it's not about trying to be their teacher, because that is not your role. It is more so, as a parent, how can you best facilitate their time at home now? And on that note, I think one of the first things that I want to emphasize is that it is quite important, or very important, that young people still have a sense of routine at home. And I can give some examples of what that routine can look like and what that schedule can look like in a moment. But there is a big emphasis on the well-being for young people. If they don't have a routine, there's this loss of stability and this loss of security. And especially during such a confusing time like what's going on right now, it is really important for our young people to feel that sense of security and stability. Routines make young people feel safe, it makes them feel secure, and having a routine makes their environment feel more predictable. They know what their days are going to look like, and it's something that they're used to. Whereas if that routine is completely broken apart and their days are very messy, very sporadic, that will impact their well-being in the long term as well. So having a sense of routine is really important. That doesn't mean they need to be working all day long and doing maths, English, science all day long. I'll show you some examples of some routines and schedules I've helped some families create. And you'll see what I mean about the fact that they do not have to be having a school day all day. So I'm going to show you an example of one that I created with a family recently. So I'll show you one for it's a 8-year-old boy, and then we've got a young girl who's in year 5, and she has dyslexia, so we made a schedule that fitted her needs. But if you just have a look at this one I've put up on the screen, and we've got some really basic things in that schedule that you would think, okay, these are daily routines anyway, but I think it's really helpful for kids to see, having this perhaps printed out up on the wall in the kitchen or up on the fridge, just so that they can see what their day is going to look like as well. And this is waking up in the morning, getting dressed. This particular mum wanted to incorporate their prayer time as well, meditation time, breakfast with the family, emphasis on doing things as a family. Some reading time in the morning. They're recording a reading log, so all these things are kind of being documented as well. At 11 o'clock, taking a break, having fruit, having a healthy snack. What we did, myself and the mum, we broke it down into the morning being time for reading and writing, then we've got lunch, then we've got more writing. The afternoon was dedicated to other subjects, so maths, humanities, and then, as you can see, from 2:30 onwards, it's actually all creative activities, fun activities, art activities, and we'll talk about those in a moment. Then taking a break for exercise, obviously getting some outdoor time if they can, if they do have a garden, or it could be the one time that we can leave the house to have our daily exercise. 3:30, relax, so they can have games, TV time, and spending time with the family. Again, a little bit more maths in the afternoon. She's then added prayers in at 6 o'clock, and then free time from 6:30. Now, this one is a really precise routine and schedule. It doesn't have to look like this, but I just thought I'd share this particular idea that myself and this mum came up with. As you can see, we've broken the day down into kind of 3 key sections, and essentially this has really been helping the kids over the last couple of weeks. The daughter has a similar one. There is more emphasis on supporting her dyslexia needs, so we kind of incorporated that into her schedule. But as you can see, for the 2 kids, they kept the timing quite similar, so that they're having breaks at a similar time, lunch at a similar time, and then free time at a similar time as well, so they can do some of these activities together. But just a small emphasis on creativity and this balance of work, play and creativity. So I've been suggesting to families about breaking up the day, as you can see in that schedule and that routine, to incorporate some of these kind of more creative elements as well. And I put a few suggestions there, maybe paint or colour by numbers, playing board games, card games, jigsaws, preparing healthy snacks. And getting the kids involved in chores, I think, not only during this time in quarantine, but outside of this time as well, having young people involved in the daily and household chores is really, really good in terms of building a sense of responsibility for the home, looking after their own room, looking after their things, is quite a valuable asset to teach them at even at a young age. Making their bed every day, creating word searches for someone else in the family to complete, maybe little treasure hunts around the house or around the garden, constructing a family tree, or maybe looking into family history. I know a family that are doing a project on their family history at the moment. And then obviously reading time is something I've emphasized already. So having times during the day to read. And I'm sure it is difficult for parents to do this alongside their children, but if you can make reading time something for the entire family, I've seen that have really positive outcomes. If the mum or dad or guardian is reading their own things, their own book alongside the child. So there can be time for guided reading, so you can be reading with your child on the book that they're reading, but also having kind of separate reading time, so they've got their own book, you've got your own book, and I think that kind of facilitates a really good environment for the child to see that, oh, my parents are also reading too, they also love to read, and they're going to lead by example, right? So if they see that you're kind of implementing those behaviors, they're more likely to do it themselves as well. So reading time is super important. The next thing I just wanted to quickly talk about was something called growth mindset. Now, this is a theory, the key thinker on growth mindset is someone called Carol Dweck, and I've put her book there on the side as well. So I definitely recommend picking up this book if you can. But what Carol Dweck is talking about is this sense of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Now, a fixed mindset, as you can see from that quote there, is having a mindset that makes you believe that your basic qualities are based on your intelligence or talent, and that they're fixed traits. So that means you can't develop them, you can't work on them, and you can't improve them. Essentially, what you have is what you've got. Whereas a growth mindset is those that believe that one can always improve, catch up, or even surpass others that have natural talents. And this view creates a love of learning and a resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. So what a growth mindset is saying is that you can always improve if you practice, if you try to catch up, if you take that time to develop a skill. And what I've been saying to families a lot recently is that this is actually a perfect time to work on a growth mindset, because unfortunately our education system, the schooling system, does restrict this mindset in young people and in adults too. I think because in the school system we're very quickly trying to get through a curriculum, we're trying to get through to our exams, we're trying to meet thresholds. Sometimes there isn't enough time to really focus on getting kids to develop this growth mindset, and I think what schools need to think about is how we can develop this more in young people. So now that they're having time at home, having time to try and catch up on things, to maybe improve on topics they find difficult, to practice topics that they find difficult, will allow them to develop this growth mindset. And this is a perfect time to do that without too much pressure on them, without all these kind of expectations on them about exams or tests, to let them have this environment that allows growth mindset. And a few ways that you can actually start doing this from today is by doing some of these things, perhaps having debates as a family, perhaps thinking about a topic that they could debate on, starting off with really simple things like, should schools have school uniform or not? Or what could we be doing as a family to tackle climate change, for example? And having these debates and these discussions where they can, in a healthy environment, try and challenge, try to debate, try to evaluate, and essentially get them to think critically about topics and about information, perhaps even printing out a newspaper article or a recent article on the news, perhaps something separate from COVID, something outside of all of that, and getting them to read the article and then talking to them about it. What do they think about it? And getting them to think critically about some of the information that they might be absorbing in the world at the moment. Because our schools and our education system are very great at emphasizing that we need to remember information, we need to absorb information. I call it making rememberers. But we aren't getting young people to think critically enough. And these skills of learning how to evaluate and to think critically about information that they're being given is a valuable skill that we know even as adults is something that makes a huge difference to our lives. So right now during homeschooling, this is a perfect time to try and tackle some of these things, trying to incorporate them into your daily routines, and developing this growth mindset for young people. And this goes for all ages. This can start at Key Stage 2 all the way through to Key Stage 5. Now, where to find resources? This is a big question that's been coming up a lot with families that I've been working with. Many schools are providing online resources or an online portal that you can log into, but I know some families are finding it a struggle to access that, or they aren't finding enough resources. So over the last couple of weeks, what I've been building is this Google Drive folder for Key Stages 2, 3, 4, and 5. In each of those folders, you'll find different topics. So you'll find different subjects: English, math, science, humanities, and you will find workbooks that I myself have created, as well as other teachers who have contributed to these homeschooling resources. And you can either download them straight onto your laptop or computer and work through them like that, or you can print them out and do them in written form. I've also been supporting families that don't have access to IT or printers, and if you are one of those families, please do get in touch, and we can send out printed resources to you as well if you don't have access to IT. Or it could be even the case that for some families they only have one computer or one laptop, and there may be more than one person that needs to be using it. So we've been trying to find out ways that we can support those families as well. So if access is an issue, definitely get in touch and we can see what we can do there. And we've also got a folder there on wellness, which obviously is something I've emphasised already. And there's activities in there emphasising how we can look after our mental well-being, our physical well-being, a few mindfulness activities in there. And also there is this link to online resources, wider web links, such as from the BBC, and other amazing websites that have opened their subscriptions for free. So a lot of these websites previously had paid subscriptions, but many of them have now opened their websites and their resources for free for parents to access some of those worksheets, videos. So you will find that document in that Google Drive folder as well. So definitely have a look through some of those websites and some of the resources they're providing for free. So yeah, finally, if you do want to get in touch, I'll leave that there on the screen for a moment, to ask any particular questions for your child, depending on what key stage they are in. Hopefully I can provide some support and some help. And then you can find me online on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that behind the Netra as well. So I'll leave that there for a moment if you want to jot that down. So it's info@behindthenetra.com. I've also got a website, which is www.behindthenetra.com, that has a contact form there. So if that's easier, you can definitely get in touch there as well. So yeah, I'll go back to our gallery screen and to see if anyone's got any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jaspreet. That was really, really interesting. And I loved how you positioned this time as a way to develop critical thinking for children, because you're absolutely right. I think kids are so kind of conditioned to pass exams, learn we've got to learn, remember. I mean, I certainly remember having to just remember facts, not actually having the opportunity to process and to think critically. So that's really nice, actually, for you to kind of share that with everybody. So thank you, and thanks for sharing all your resources. So if anybody would like to access Jaspreet's resources, we are sending, for everyone who attended this call, some resources, some links in the post-event email. If not, like Jaspreet has suggested, get in touch with her directly. Jaspreet's contact details can also be found on the website as well, if you look up this event, if you did want to get hold of her. So let's open it up for some questions. I think we've got Sarah Austin's asking a question. Jaspreet, Sarah, do you want to unmute your microphone and ask the question?
Yeah, hi Jaspreet.
Hi Sarah.
I'm Sarah. Yeah, I've got two girls, two daughters. Evie is 8 years old. She's in year 4, and Charlotte's in year 5. She's just turned 10. And me and my husband are splitting the homeschooling, and I'm tasked with science, which they're both really interested in. So I wondered if you had any ideas for sort of great websites that I could base some lessons on for the two girls?
Yeah, absolutely. So once we do share this Google Drive folder round after the call, definitely have a look in the Key Stage 2 and 3 folders for some science activities. And even in those web links that I shared before, there's a couple of them that are specific to science and science at home. So there's even kind of some experiments that you could do at home in the kitchen. So there's a couple of resources in that Google Drive folder. And then if you also have a look at those links that I've shared, you'll see a couple of them are specific to science and science at home, trying to do experiments at home. So I definitely recommend having a look at them. The other thing I'd suggest is perhaps looking for videos on YouTube as well. I know a lot of science teachers often refer to YouTube videos to have a look at certain topics and share them with their students. So if there's a particular topic, whether it's biology, chemistry or physics, maybe having a quick look on YouTube for videos as well could be quite helpful. And you could probably see videos of live experiments taking place and that sort of stuff as well.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question for Jaspreet? Yes, Sarah Fleck, if you want to unmute your mic.
Hi Sarah.
Hi Jaspreet, lovely talk, thank you very much. I've got a daughter in year 9. She's incredibly creative. So the first 2 weeks, art homework was being prioritised and things like that. But how do I keep her on track in the academic subjects as well, when, you know, I've been sort of trying to get her to eat a frog each day, sort of doing those horrible subjects first that she doesn't enjoy. So she has the afternoon being creative, but we've had days where the whole day has been spent on art, you know, because she's just started her GCSEs as well.
Yeah, and that's okay. I know, like I mentioned at first, parents are feeling the pressure of trying to make the day seem similar to a school day, but there will be days where that can happen, and that's okay. So first off, don't feel too hard on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself if it's not a full day with maths, English, science and a bit of everything. Even if it is a day full of art, that's okay as well. Because we've got to remember for these young people, it's such a confusing time, and if that's helping them process this at the moment, then that's okay. But have you guys made a schedule yet, or a routine?
We haven't, no. I mean, the school have been quite good at kind of pinging through the homework and the structure. So we've been sort of making sure we're keeping on top of that. And we've sort of said to her, look, you know, because we want her to have some, you know, independence as well. So not sort of trying to be too draconian about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that routine needs to be put in place after the Easter holidays.
Yeah, I think after the Easter holidays would be a good time to start it. Let her feel like, okay, we're taking a break for a bit, because this would have been their Easter holiday time, and they deserve to have their fun break, and not for that to feel too different. But definitely definitely get her involved in making the schedule, so she feels that sense of responsibility that she's actually making it, and then you're discussing that together, rather than it just being you making it and giving it to her. Let her feel like she's got a sense of responsibility in making it. So writing down all the subjects that's going to be in the schedule, and then definitely having free time and breakout time, and getting her involved in making that schedule might be a good idea.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks.
Lovely advice. Anyone else got a question or comments? I think Catherine's made a lovely comment. Catherine, I don't know if you want to share that, or I'm happy to read it. Okay, so I'll read it. So it says that thanks for the lovely talk. I love the idea of the perfect time for a growth mindset. I've read about it, also discussed it with my oldest son the other day.
That's really good
to hear. Really good. Thank you. So our time is up. I don't know if anyone else has got any comments or would like to say anything. Liz over there. Looks like, Liz, you're in San Francisco over there. Hey. Don't know if you've got any comments or anything that you want to add.
Not too much. It's what I've really been struggling with is just trying to keep the kids entertained and educated while at the same time doing worky work, and trying to organise that with all the technology issues and getting everything downloaded from school and getting the kids to do it and all the rest of it as well. So, and they're hopeless. They keep interrupting everything. Who are you? So yeah, they're the major challenges. That,
You're gonna get fun background.
Excuse me.
That's so cute.
So sweet, so sweet.
Aww,
no, my sister's definitely feeling the same as at the moment. She's got 2 boys and she's trying to work from home as well. And what she's found quite helpful was that idea of making a routine, giving them the time of a workbook or a work pack, some of the resources I've put on that Google Drive folder that will keep them busy for about an hour at a time. So that will give you about an hour to get on with some work, and keep them busy for about an hour. So hopefully that can help, but it is a tricky time. It's hard, especially for the parents that are still trying to get on with full-time work as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jaspreet, and no need to apologise, Liz. We totally understand. Your little ones are most welcome for next week's call if they want to join us as well. So on that note, I am going to wrap it up. Thank you, Jaspreet, for sharing your wisdom and your tips with us. Thank you, everyone that joined and got involved. Really, really hope that this helped. Jaspreet is available if you want to have any follow-up questions and would like to ask any questions directly. I'm sure, Jaspreet, you're happy to support and get involved. Details will be sent out after this event. So before I wrap up, I just want to highlight a few more events that we've got coming up, especially whilst we're all at home. Yeah, okay, great. So here are some of the events. So next week's Time Out Tuesday, we have got Staying Connected. So we've got someone talking, a guest invited speaker, talking about how this is a great time to not only look at your own social capital, how you connect with others, but actually how do we connect with ourselves during this time. On the 15th of April, we've got perimenopause and the menopause within the workplace. 17th of April, online masterclass and introduction on how to write and publish a book. Great for those who've always wanted to write a book. This is probably the best time to actually carve some time out to do it whilst we're at home. And like Jaspreet has just said, she's recently secured a publishing deal, so proud of you for that. So do jump on that call if you are thinking, or I've always been thinking, I want to be a writer. Great place to start there. Our next Time Out Tuesday on the 21st is Humorous Observations of COVID-19 by Zara Jen Dewar, who again is a good friend of the Rising Network. She's a comedian, she's part of the writers group for the BBC, so she's going to share her funny observations there. Laughter yoga to release stress and anxiety. This is a really stressful time for many of us, so why not jump on the call and have a laugh and join us there for the 30-minute call there. And then 5th of May, we've got Intercultural Dimensions in HR Management. And then I want to just spotlight this one with Jaspreet. So as I mentioned, she's an award-winning spoken word artist. So she'll be running a special workshop for us online on mindfulness poetry. And if you haven't checked out Jaspreet, I really do encourage you to check out her work. She's totally changed my life in many ways on a personal level, really helped me. So please do, I'd encourage you to have a look at her work. Absolutely beautiful work there. Okay, so on that note, thank you again, Jaspreet, for today. Thank you everyone for joining on the call. And I hope that you are all keeping safe and sane. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope to see you all next week. Thank you so much, guys.